Greetings everyone, welcome to this new video. We're gonna take a look at the Slayer Ascendancy and Cyclone. Of course you can play it with any other Ascendancy basically, because Cyclone is so strong in 3.7. I have cleared all content on a budget and it have never been easier, so I recommend this build especially for new players that does not want to have the hassle of having a lot of stats and a lot of mechanics that just throw in their face. But for older players, more veteran players, you also have insane scaling to be done in this build, and I will go through everything in this video. It has good, even better than good clear speed. It can do all map mods, even though no leech maps are kind of a pain to actually go through. And yeah, like I said, it's all around insane build that you can do all content in this game. And we'll just get into all the different steps, and of course I will leave the path of building link in the description. Let's just get into it. So for our gear, we're gonna take a look at the unique pieces first and then go over to our rare pieces, because that's the way I'm looking at it when I'm building something. I always want to see what stats I'm gonna need after I've gotten all the chase uniques. Otherwise you might be finding yourself in a situation where you have too little resist, too much of something, too little of something else, and stats and so forth. So these are not obligatory, they are only recommended, but because they're recommended doesn't mean that they're not best in slot also. I think all of these uniques that I have on right now, I would not trade them for any kind of rare items. So we're gonna start with our chest piece, which is Comb's Heart, because we already have a 6-link on our axe here, because that's the beauty of having a two-hander. So we're gonna take a look here. It's increased fire damage, which is completely negligible for our build. We don't care about that because we're running brutality, which is right there, and there says no chaos, no elemental damage. Well, good. So you might be wondering why we're running this one then. Well, the max life makes up for it, and because we have so much extra percentage max life on our tree and on our jewels and stuff like that, we are just getting insane values from this. So I recommend this 100%. And I think Belly of the Beast is also a very good one, because if you want an extra 6-link in here, then you can of course go Belly of the Beast all the way. Also gives some armor and something like that. So it's very easy. It just goes for the cheapest one you can find on the market, because it does not matter really which other stats are on it. Then we can go for the helmet. I think this one, Devoter's Devotion, is highly valued amongst players because, well, it's the most expensive helmet right now. I think it's cost over an Exalted right now. So it has some extremely good movement speed. Movement speed is key for this build if you want to play it. Because every time we cyclone a little bit slower, because yeah, that's just how the trade-off is with Cyclone. And it also gives us all the decks we ever need for this build, plus what we get on the skill tree and so on. So we don't need to worry about that stat on our rare gear, which is where it opens up new avenues there. Increased attack speed is insane scaling for us, so that also is a big plus, and it gives us armor and evasion. Especially armor is good here. And chaos resistance is very nice because we don't really get it anywhere else. And then we go to our amulet spot, which is just a chaos or something like that. And this one was made for Cyclone in mind, I think, because it gives us the extra melee weapon range, which scales very well for us, because melee weapon range is much better than the AoE, percentage AoE. So if you have a good mix with those two stats, then you're gonna get the maximum of your build, the maximum range of your Cyclone, which can basically cover the whole screen if you scale it enough. So we have reduced maximum energy shield, which doesn't bother us because we're not running any energy shield anyway. We have fire resistance, cold resistance, a lot of resistance. Increased movement speed when on full life, which is all the time because Slayer Leech and so on. Increased melee damage when on full life. And again, Slayer Leech is just gonna keep us at full life basically at all time, or in those few instances when we don't have it, we're gonna get it back so fast. So this one is insane. The only thing that's missing, and again, is just life. We get a little bit from the strength and a little bit from yeah, basically that. So I think the trade-off is insane, and especially is so cheap to buy. Here on our belt slot we have the Wretch. I know many are going for Stygian Vices and stuff like that also, and there's a new combo which I'm gonna talk about in another video. But we get insane life from this one. We get resistance, leech, flask effect duration, increased movement speed, and you might be wondering, well, 200% of life leech applied to enemies as chaos damage, and like, well, you just said that brutality takes away all the chaos damage, but I can tell you it does not affect this one, because it's reflected damage. It's not us doing the damage per se, it's the reflected does the damage, so brutality does not apply to this one. So it's very good, so it still works with the life leech. So extremely good. And if you want to craft, if you want to get this item, I suggest you craft it yourself because it's much cheaper. You buy 2 other belts, look it up on the PoE Database or something like that, and then you just fuse it together, you sell it to the vendor, and you get this one. I made insane profits in the beginning of the league just crafting these and selling them to people. And now for the rare pieces, we're gonna start with the boots. Again, movement speed is key for this build, so we want a lot of that. We want to fill up our resistances, and we also want to fill up on the intellect, because intellect we're really starving on, because we need enough for this infused channeling. It's 111 at level 20, so if we get some here and some on the other pieces, I have some on my ring also. It's very good, so we want to fill up on that. Then we have basically that is it. Life, intellect, movement speed, resistance. Chance to dodge spell hits of course was a bonus here, but it's absolutely not needed. Then we go over to our gloves. Of course I have enfeebled gloves because we're not running any kind of curse on this, so I just wanted 1 curse without reserving any mana. You can get vulnerability also if you want more damage, but obviously this is something you want to aim at right at the end, because you're gonna brick a lot of items just corrupting these, because normally they don't give anything, or even if they give something, they might not give something you need. But the stats you want to go for this one, instead of the cold damage to attacks, you want physical damage to attacks, because the cold damage, again, because of brutality, does not give you anything. Increase attack speed, scales insanely good with this build, and then we just fill up with life, as much life as you can get, and some resistance. You can also, if you can take a look here, get craft. The melee weapon and armor range is very good for this build, of course, because we want that extra melee range, and it's not that uncommon mod to get on the veiled item, so you might already have it. Then we can go for the rings, and if you can see there, the most important thing here is if you want to reserve that much mana, which we're gonna talk about in the skill gem section, but basically I have no mana left, so I need this craft. It's a prefix, if you can take a look here, it's a prefix, and it's gonna take away all the mana. So if I hover over my Cyclone, it costs 0 mana. Very nice, so I can Cyclone all day without having any kind of problem. Sadly my leap stem is 1, but I have 52 of these, so it's gonna regenerate even with that. So other things we need, we're gonna need to fill up on intellect here again, because we get 0 intellect from the tree unless you spec into those big nodes. And we want as much life as we can get, and some resistance, and if you can, of course, you can go for attack speed and just pure physical damage to attacks, those will be good, very good, but together with everything else it's gonna be very expensive. So if you want a cheap ring, just buy one that is already has an open prefix and then find someone who can craft this. Or like I did, I just bought these already crafted. Of course it's gonna be a little bit more expensive that way because these crafts are very rare. You need a specific veiled mod from only Elrond who can drop those specific ones. So quite hard to get. But otherwise, just drop one of the auras and you have enough mana for it. And as long as you hit an enemy, you're leeching mana anyway. So, and now for the controversial thing here, I have gone from using swords to going over to Access. There was a big forum post about this, and he explained it very well on this one. And basically, what the gist of the forum post was that if you want to go for pure physical and also no crit, then go for Access. If you want to have crit build, then you go for the swords. And because we are using also Resolute Technique, which makes us always hit the enemies and no crit, we are choosing the Access. And there are, this axe that I'm crafted right here is much better than the Assyria Disfavor, which is also extremely popular and so overpriced in this league. I think this one is gonna be much easier to get a good one out of, and that was my view on it, because I was not gonna buy one of those Assyria Disfavors. So what are you gonna do is just get one of these Val Axes. I think it's eye level 80. Yeah, 80 to get maximum roll on the, and it needs to be an Elder. You don't need a Valax, but it's the best base to do this on because it gives you the highest physical DPS. And you're gonna search for the Fortify mod here, level 20 Fortified, and which can only roll on an eye level 80 and above. And you're gonna alt it, you're gonna alteration orbit all the way. There's plenty of crafting videos for this. But what I noticed was that if I 6-link one of these Val Axes, which I do through, first I use perfect fossils, so I get it up to close to 30 in quality. And then I craft on the if you see at the bottom, to quality, as much as I have on it. And then I start to 6-link it, because it's much more likely, the more quality you have on an item, the more likely you are to actually get a 6-link or 6-socket an item. So first off, you want to do that and then start fusing it. Second, if you only have the Fortify mod and only have the craft the physical damage roll on there, it's still more damage, much more damage than the Disfavor at Zero Disfavor. So we're already winning by just having that. We don't need any other mods, because technically this is a 7-link. Because Fortify, we can take out that and put in damage on full life instead. So it's a 7-link axe. So I highly recommend to craft this. Just have it in your inventory and start putting all your fuses and all your Euler orbs on this, and just remember to quality it up first and use the perfect fossils to get the most out of it before you start doing all of this. So those are all of my items. You just want some resist, life, intellect to fill out all those juicy, and then you want to go for the damage mods. So that's all I have for you this section. Let's go to the next. For our flasks, I always run with a life flask, because we're running blood rage and we are degenning life all the time, and especially good if you're delving and everything like that. And you want one with instant recovery, some of it at least, and freeze immunity, because there's always a situation where oh shit moment when you just wanna go in there and hit the button, just smash that button over and over again. So I always run with a life flask. Highly recommended. For a unique flask, the only one I'm using at least, and it's the Lion's Roar. It's a little bit expensive, but it's highly worth it. It gives us more melee damage. The keyword there is more. More is a multiplier instead of just increased. Increased gives almost nothing, but more gives so much more. I know, right? Chance to cause enemies to flee also, extremely good defensive. Knocks back enemy on use, which is a little bit annoying sometimes, because yeah, you want enemies close, but it's negligible. Honestly, that's the only downside with this flask. And then it gives us a ton of armor, which is a good defensive layer, because we're in there close and close to the to all the enemies, so we want that armor to save us. Then I use the sulfur flask, because it gives us the concentrating ground, doesn't give us anything, but the increased damage is really nice. And also you can fill up here with the curse immunity, because you're gonna run those temporal chain and then other curses you get on the maps and stuff like this. And as long as this one is up, you're not gonna need to worry about that. You're gonna run at full speed anyway. So curse immunity is super important if you just wanna map really fast and don't worry about any of the map mods. Then we have the basalt flask, and again I'm using freeze because that's the only one I'm really worried about, because we have bleed immunity from our Ascendancy anyway. So I just run with 2 of these. You can also run with the poison or the other one that gives us immune to burning damage and stuff like that, but honestly I just run 2 of these. Then we have the Quicksilver Flask, and you want to use the Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline, and you want to roll as high as possible, increase movement speed. So increase movement speed as the Quicksilver Flask, and increase movement speed even more when you are running this. So you can also run on any of these. If you don't want any of these mods, you can also run the Adrenaline mod on those flasks also. So those are my flasks. For our Yules, we have a ton of mods that just benefits us immensely. I always go for the increased percent increased maximum life on all my Yules, because we want to scale all that juicy life that we get from combs and all our other pieces. So you want synergy between the percentage increased life and the pure life. So this is a good way of doing that. So you want as much of this stat. Then you also can fill out your resist and your stats if you need some more intelligence, for example, which we are starving on. But otherwise, the best stats are probably the attack speed ones. So you can get up to 8% increased attack speed with Axis, which is extremely good. Other mods to look for is just a area damage, increased damage. We have attack speed with two-handed, physical hits with two-handed, and just go on the Affix sites or Path of Exile DB and then database, that is, and then just look through and just click in every mod that could be benefiting you, which is a lot of them. Most of them are actually benefiting us in the end. So those are my jewels. Otherwise, I do not use any of the timeless jewels right now, but I know you can put it up here in the left corner here, and what you can gain is like endurance charge, like automatic from that, and you can also get some intimidate mods and stuff like that. It's really good things that you can actually get from the timeless jewels. I just haven't experimented enough with them yet. So after the next one, skill gems. We're gonna start with our main link, which is our Cyclone. So of course we're gonna have Cyclone in here. We're gonna have infused channeling because it gives us some extra damage, and also it gives us an extra layer of defense with this. So this one is really good. Its only downside is that it uses intellect, but it's such a good jewel or skill gem that you really want it. Brutality is probably the biggest damage boost, because again it's 6 more physical damage. The word more there is so much better than the increased you can see in the bottom. The difference between them, even if there was 10-10 on both of them, is just insane difference. So really good, and we're not scaling chaos or elemental damage anyway, so we do not get anything from it, because we want that physical reflect immunity also, because that's what we get from the Ascendancies. Other ones is melee physical damage, of course, again more melee physical damage, and it gives us some extra from against bleeding and stuff like that, so that's very nice. And we have also damage on full life, but otherwise it would be a fortify in here. The reason why I'm not having that is because my axe already has fortify as an affix, so you can just put in damage on full life right here. Second one here that I want to talk about is Impale. I find this one much better. I was running with Pulverize before. Pulverize gives you an extra damage and extra AoE, but it has some downside. It's not as good as Impale. Impale, because we're scaling it on our tree, is just insane on damage. You're melting everything, so you're gonna get a hit on the area you're gonna hit enemies on, but you're gaining so much damage. And I think it's, if you're running T16s and stuff like that and bossing and stuff like that, you really need this one. Even if you're running a little bit lower tier maps, Impale is just superior in every way, I believe. So this is the links you want to go in your main. Then I have everything that takes up mana right now is an Enlighten 3. You don't need an Enlighten 4 because yeah, we don't need any mana. Basically everything is free when we're running it. So we have Pride. Pride is extremely good. Again, more physical damage. Yeah, we already talked about that so many times. Flesh and Stone is very good because we're running it in blood stance, and what it says is it gives us maimed skill take increased physical damage, and also maimed while in blood stance, so it creates that blood around us right here. And because we have that link to maim support, it boosts our Flesh and Stone, so it synergizes very well. So apparently I did not know this when I started out. You can actually link it with the aura, and it's just gonna be super good when you're in blood stance. You definitely want to be on blood stance. Then we're gonna have, where is it? It's here. We want to have the Dread Banner. The War Banner is better if you're planning on planting it. If you're just running with it, go with Dread Banner. Take it from the biggest forum thread there is on the Path of Exile forum. This one is superior. Blood and Sand, again blood stance. We're gonna go for more area damage while in blood stance. A little bit less area effect. It's not gonna, but it's gonna be a lot more damage again. And then I'm just running Face Run because I was doing delving, so don't worry about this one. Blood Rage is extremely good because it gives us increased attack speed. The only negative is if we degenning, but with the Slayer Leech, and as long as we're hitting something every 4 seconds or something, you're never gonna notice Blood Rage anyway. You're only gonna get the boost, and also it gives you extra frenzy charges, which give you extra movement speed and extra damage all around. So extremely good to have active on all maps. Final, we have the Leap Slam, which is a link to endurance charge on melee stun, and they reworked Leap Slam, so you always stun on full life enemies. So you're gonna have as long as you use Leap Slam, just slamming into those packs, you're gonna always have the endurance charges up. And we also have Ancestral Warsheep, and I had here before I had Impale, because on bosses, if you're doing a lot of just Shaper and Uber Elder, you might want to put in Impale here because it gives those extra stacks of Impale real fast if you put down the totem often. But I'd never used the totem. I noticed that I had it there, and I'm just having it because everyone else is running Ancestral Warsheep, but I don't need it because I have so much damage, so I don't even bother with it. I use faster attacks instead, so I have Leap Slam much faster. So those are my skill gem choices, and I am very happy with it, how it plays out right now. For our passive tree, we are just gonna go down this route to start out with to get that attack speed, which scales our damage, and we get some extra life and stuff like that. Then we're just gonna go forward from this direction and just increase life again, Combs Heart, I cannot stress this enough. Extra melee damage range right here, really good node. Physical damage, of course. Then we're gonna take the long way around here to gain some two-handed weapon damage. Because you might be leveling with this, everything with two-handed and not specifically for axes or swords or maces, whatever you go with, you can just pick up any weapon while you're leveling and still have the effect of these. Then I would suggest, if you do not want any mana problem in the beginning, then you can go for the mana here. And I went all the way down here because it gives us some more cap to how much leech we can have. I would wait with Valpact until a little bit further in, because yeah, we just want, it benefits a lot at the end when we have a lot of life. So Valpact is very good towards the end. We want to pick up some life to just increase our survivability. Wait with the jewel slots again, because in the beginning you might not need them. Same with the Impale, we don't want to scale into that too early. So what I do is that I just work my way here, then I would work my way down here, and then I would pick up whatever I need here. So I would pick up this whole wheel here because it gives us two-handed melee weapons again. A lot of scaling to your damage here. And if you're planning on running Fortify early, which I did in leveling, then I would pick up this also. Then I would just rush all the way up to Resolute Technique, because if you're running Cyclone early as you can, then you want Resolute Technique so you never miss. Now you can just pick up all the straggling nodes, like extra life as much as you can on these, for example. And you can get some extra weapon range right here. And towards, I would just go for all of these and all the way up here, and then even I would scale into around level 70 maybe. I would scale into all these Impale nodes. It depends also which gems you have. If you're leveling this from scratch, you have no currency at all, then I would wait with Impale and Valpact. But otherwise, you just want to go with the exact nodes that I'm having here, because these are taken directly from the forums. I've done tons of research, and the best way is like I think the guy name is Affix or something, Affix or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he is the cyclone god on this. So he came up with this together with help from the forum, and yes, this is the way to go, definitely. And I've gone through this on Path of Building. This is how you want to build it, and you can see the Path of Building link in the description, so if you want to take a look at it yourself. For our ascendancies, we are gonna go on this little path up here. We're gonna take our headsman for our first ascendancy, which I recommend at least. More damage if you killed recently, which is all the time. More damage against unique enemies, which is gonna help you with bossing and early. And then I just went all the way because I just like this node. Increased movement speed early on, which means you're gonna go through all the stages, all the acts real fast. And attack speed if you kill a rare or unique enemy, which is when you get a little bit damage and a little bit of speed, it's gonna be all the time. And if you're planning on doing bosses that kill enemies that have 20% lower life, it's just insane on Shaper, because that basically negates the final phase of Shaper. It just makes it so much easier, because that's the only hard phase, or harder than the other ones at least, in the Shaper fight. It's just gonna kill him outright. Then we're gonna go Endless Hunger, overkill damage, leeches life, and immune to bleeding is very nice, because then we don't need a bleeding flask. And then we're gonna go into Brutal Favor. This one is the hallmark of our Slayer. We're gonna have life leech effects are not removed at full life, so it's just gonna continuously leech. Even if you get hit after you have already hit an enemy, it's just gonna continuously heal you up. And it's just for a few seconds, but it's plenty I tell you, with the speed we're going through these maps. Increase attack speed while leeching, which is all the time. Increase attack damage while leeching, which is all the time. Reduce damage while leeching, and again all the time. You could take these out and go for the impact if you want extra range, because deal up to 15% more melee damage to enemy based on proximities. Basically it's gonna be the same damage as all of these together. That's how powerful more multiplier is in this game. But you don't get the Slayer Leech, but there's a belt that you can get, which I'm gonna talk about in another video when it comes to this. So that is all the ascendancies. For our Pantheons, we want to go for Soul of Lunaris is the one I'm always going with, because bosses doesn't really face me, and additional physical damage reduction for each enemy nearby. Those are the ones that are actually gonna kill me, because legions, there's gonna be tons of those rare enemies which are super dangerous, and this one just gives me physical damage reduction, so really good. And also in movement speed is also weird. Movement speed is key for this build. I don't think there's any better. Of course you want to upgrade it and not leave it like I have here. I've been very lazy on this part. I completely forgot about it. The second one I went for is Soul of Grutacle, but I probably should go for Soul of Shakari instead, because it means that I can get immune to poison. But again, I have not been doing my captures very correctly. So these are the ones that I would recommend. And if you don't, physical damage reduction, if you have taken a savage hit recently, is very good also. For our bandits, we're just gonna kill them all. There's nothing better, because the skill tree is so packed with good nodes in 3.7, especially in the bottom part. So I don't see any build that has on the bottom part not taking the 2 skill points. Take them. That's all I have for you. Thank you for watching this video so much, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I will hopefully get back to you as soon as I can. Also, there's some more information about this build, and the path of building link will be in the description, so just take a look at that, and might have already answered some of your questions you might rise, so please take a look there first. And I will pin any comments that I find very important for this build. Also, I just want to thank you for your future support by subscribing to my channel and liking this video. Have an awesome day.